You founded and built up the company and it's going great. What do you do then? We're on location in Cambridge, Massachusetts with Chris Savage, the founder and CEO of Wistia, and welcome to the Language of Business.
Thanks for having me.
How did you start Wistia?
Started Wistia with my best friend and co-founder, Brendan Schwartz, in 2006. We saw the landscape of online video really changing because of open source tools that were available and broadband coming and all this kind of stuff. We're like, well, this is going to finally happen. Online video is actually going to be here. It's not going to be a real player anymore. And so we jumped in with kind of a wild idea for our first attempt, which was like a filmmaking competition website. That quickly failed because it was extremely complicated. It was not the right time, but we found our way to helping businesses with video after about a year and have been doing that ever since.
How are you different, though, than Dropbox or Vimeo?
We have a player that's extremely robust and extremely fast. It's I think the fastest player on the market, which means your page load speeds are faster, you get indexed better in search. It's totally customizable. You can make it interactive. You can capture emails in the player. And then we track how every single one of your viewers watches every video second by second. So you get an insight on like, what do the people who are seeing my video care about? And then when you aggregate that data, you can understand like, oh, when they get to this part of the video, they turn it off. And when they get to this part, they stay with it. So you learn how to make videos that are more aligned with your audience. And then we also integrate into all of the major like marketing tech stacks. So you could take that data and put it into HubSpot. And then you can say, build a list based on people who are interested in your most recent product launch, stuff like that.
The focus of this episode is going to be on online marketing secrets.
Yeah.
From a tech lens, what do you think's happening in the next 2 or 3 years?
I mean, there's a bunch of trends, I think, for marketers that matter. There's the change on Facebook and making it much harder to advertise. And I think there's a lot of marketers that got used to not having to worry about getting customers, that are worried about getting customers. I think you have to own your own audience. That doesn't have to be the only audience, but what I mean by that is you have to have a way to connect with your audience across multiple platforms. And usually the easiest way is like email. More folks are focused on text now too. But I think you have to have an owned audience strategy. I don't think you can market in today's world anymore without thinking about how can you connect with these people in different places. I think on the video side, video is getting easier and easier to make, and expectations have shifted because everyone's been at home, where the playing field is kind of level today. We're shooting here in a studio, it's gonna look gorgeous, but it doesn't have to be this. You can be in front of your webcam, and if you're making videos in the right spot, doing the right way, it can have a huge impact, so I think folks should check out there. And I think another farther out thing that's coming is VR, and I don't think VR is going to replace in-person. I don't think it's going to replace phone calls, but I think it will be additive in terms of like another type of experience for how people want to connect with each other. And I think it'll really ramp up once augmented reality gets really good.
In preparing for this interview, I was genuinely impressed how much you believe and support the Boston ecosystem. What are your thoughts on trends for Bostonians?
Well, it's funny, I was just looking at some data on New York, and it was that like, as of like last week, the number of people staying in hotels has now reached the pre-COVID level. But the number of people taking the subway is about 40% of what it was. And so I think the biggest trend is not a Boston specific trend. It is that like flexible work is here, is not going away. Like the genie's out of the bottle. You gotta get comfortable with the fact that people can be anywhere. You don't know where they are. I think what you need to do if you wanna have a strong physical presence, I think for Bostonians, it's about community. You have to think like, all right, people aren't going to come in every day, but when they are here, how can we create events that really bring the community together and really make people feel like they're part of something? So when they think about how they identify, they think I'm a Bostonian.
So many tech startups, Chris, come and go, but you've successfully been at this for over 15 years. What do you attribute your longevity to?
I think first of all, caring about longevity, and when we started the company, we did not think we were going to do this for 16 years. In fact, we really honestly thought we'd do this for 6 months. Like that was our plan. Our business model that we built was like, we will run out of money in 6 months. So we will either sell the business and we'll be rich, because that seemed like an easy opportunity, or we'll just tell no one that we did this and we'll fail in obscurity. That was our strategy. And it's just turned out to be like, I don't think it's that hard to predict the future for where tech is going. I think it's really hard to get the timing right. I'm one of those people who just like, you can see the future, but when will it happen is really hard. And like some things in this business took way longer than I thought. Some things have been way shorter. But when you think about the world in that way, what you really want is you want to be fulfilled. You want the work to be fun. Figuring that out early enough that like it's hard to predict the timing, but if you actually enjoy what you're doing, you can keep doing it. And sometimes the most valuable opportunities are literally ones that you just stay on and go after for a long time.
Things are going well. In 2017, you actually passed on an offer to sell your company. Why?
Obviously, when you start a business as an entrepreneur, like selling is
the holy grail.
The holy
Yes.
grail, that's what everyone wants to do. And I just said, that's what we wanted to do, is just this business for 6 months and then sell it. I think we just learned at that moment, like selling the company would have meant giving up this thing. It was the process of having the opportunity to sell that made us realize that we had some problems in the company.
Like what?
It wasn't fun, and we were really short-term focused. And when we thought about what we would do if we sold, my co-founder Brendan and I were like, well, we definitely start another company together. We love working together.
Right.
We'd go back into the video space because it feels like it's really starting to change in terms of like the tech is getting there on the creation side of video and stuff like that, that's going to be a huge opportunity for us.
And that's what you studied in college. So
Exactly.
It makes sense,
So it's
right?
all like coming together. And we thought if we were going to do those things, who would we hire? And we knew who we'd hire is the people who are in the building. And so then it seemed really silly. It's like, why would we sell this if there's all this other stuff we want to do and all the people we'd want to work with are right here? But it made us realize that like we were too overstretched, we were pushing too hard, we were too unfocused. And so we committed, like, if we're not going to sell, let's fix these problems. Like, let's make it fun again. Let's be more creative. Let's think more long term. And so we set off on this other path and kind of simplified things and had everyone who stays in like recommit to this long-term future that we've been executing on.
And what does that long-term future look like?
I mean, so far it's been incredible. I mean, a lot of those things really have become true. Like the tech is there to help with creation of videos, and we have a product called Soapbox helps with that. And you talked about editing, we're working on that. We're working on tons of other stuff across those different areas. It's been more fun, it's been more balanced, it's been more creative. And I think, then when COVID happened, it was this realization of like, wow, we felt like we were 14 years in and the market was mature. And now I realize that the market's actually early stage again because most companies just started using video in the last couple of years.
Chris, thank you very much.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Chris Savage, the co-founder and CEO of Wistia, based here in Cambridge.
Hey, I'm Chris, here to take you on a tour of the wonderful world of Wistia. Once you upload your videos to Wistia, you can organize them into different sections to keep things neat and tidy. And our search function makes it super easy to find exactly what you're looking for, even with a large number of videos. The Customize tab gives you options to change the player color, upload a custom thumbnail, or add and remove player controls. Customize also offers useful marketing tools that you can add right inside the video player. Use Turnstile to collect email addresses at any point in your video. Annotations direct your viewers to external links like blog posts. Add a call to action at the end of a video to, motivate people to take action. And with SEO benefits built in, Wistia can help your videos rank better on Google search. So, want to get started using Wistia? Fill out the form and we'll be in touch right away.
There's so much competition online these days, and frankly, the technology is getting cheaper and cheaper, although marketing potentially is getting a little bit more expensive. But let's face it, there are clear winners and losers. Avenue 7 Media is one of those winners, and let's find out why. We welcome to the Language of Business, Jason Boyce. Hello.
Hi, Greg. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure having you here. What caused you to start Avenue 7 Media 3 years ago?
Gosh, it's a good question. You should probably ask my wife that question because I'd had an exit as a big Amazon seller. I was a top 200 Amazon seller for about 17 years, was in business with my brothers. At about year 15, we said, I love you guys, but we're done doing business together. And let's find a way to capitalize off this thing that we built and all move on. In the year 2016, I had my first taste of what it's like to speak in front of a group of Amazon sellers. And I really enjoyed it. It was like this rapid fire. Everyone was asking question after question. I said, oh, that happened to me in '08. Try this. Oh, that happened to me in '09. Try that. And I learned something about myself. At that moment, I realized how meaningful and how much I enjoyed helping other sellers navigate something as challenging and as difficult as Amazon. And even though I was still running my other business, I had it in my head that I was going to start an agency at some point.
And so in a 30-second pitch, what does Avenue 7 Media do?
We are a full service, fully outsourced Amazon department for brands. We help you grow, profitably and win on the Amazon platform. We do everything from your branding, your listings, your advertising, managing your customer service, and then all of the other things that are required in order to have success on Amazon. Greg, there was a time where you could hire somebody out of college and that person could be your Amazon person, right? And they could do everything that you needed to do to have success on Amazon. But those days are long gone. You can't really have one person just to manage your advertising because it's so complicated now. There's so many different layers and nuances. There are cases where we drive 120 ads to one product. We also need branding. We need SEO. You need customer service. You need review management, right? You need FBA management. You need to figure out ways to stay in stock. And then when Amazon takes your listing down because they have AI bots that aren't very intelligent, you got to have a team that knows how to get those things back up so you don't lose sales.
So I'm intrigued. In 2003, Amazon probably loved you because you were driving traffic to the site. With every sale you made, they received a cut of it. Now, 20 years later, do they consider you to be a friend or a foe?
Oh gosh, you'd have to ask them. It depends on what I say in the press. I'm unabashedly a big supporter for brands and small businesses. I believe strongly that Amazon wouldn't be what it is today, and they will not become what they are in the future without the hard work, the toil, the sweat, the capital, the product knowledge, and the grit of the small business owner. And if you think about that for a second, there's about 1.4 million sellers just in the United States with an active listing. Think about how many people they staff, right? And if you do that multiple, you take a look at this, it's likely impossible for Amazon to replace what the third-party seller brings to the table for them. And in my opinion, when I'm out there, to answer your question specifically, Greg, when I'm out there saying, Amazon, you need to acknowledge that. And you need to speak up about that more often. And you need to give these sellers who are your highest paying customer. That's right. Sellers pay Amazon more profit dollars than do Amazon shoppers. Then they don't like me. They don't like me when I do that, when I call them out. But they love me when I take a client from 0 to $1 million in sales, $1 million to to 10 million and 20 million in sales. So it depends on the day, Greg. Let's be honest.
From the customer's perspective, it's pretty seamless. You type in a product or a category that you're looking for. The product or category comes up. You look at the comments, the questions, etc., and then hopefully you proceed to add it to cart and then move on from there. You mentioned there are 65 different things that one of these third-party sellers needs to do. What are one or two of those more important 65?
Yeah, I'm going to go up to the 30,000 foot view and then we'll land the plane on your question. Okay, Greg. Something that's important to remember is based on most recent surveys, 75% of US shoppers who look to buy a product online start their search on Amazon. That Amazon page one of search results is the new Main Street. If you can get your product with the highest volume keywords on page one of search results, it's gravy train for you. On Amazon, you're selling to an algorithm. What matters most to that algorithm are clicks and sales. If your product is surfacing in search and Amazon shoppers are first clicking on it and they're adding to cart at a rate that's equal to or higher than your top selling competitors, the algorithm will reward you. And you will move to the top of that search results page and you will see a hockey stick growth pattern that we often refer to as the Amazon flywheel effect. So Greg, back to your question, you got to lay the foundation, right? And we do search engine optimization. That's talking about Amazon search to an Amazon listing, Amazon SEO. That's the first part of the foundation. Second, we really rely on branding, telling that entrepreneur's brand story, telling that message, focusing on the benefits of that product. And we do all that in the listings and the A+ details in the brand store within Amazon. So that's number one, lay the foundation. Second is you drive traffic. Then you wait and you wait. And you may wait a couple of weeks, you may wait a month, and then you read the tea leaves, right? And you look at all the metrics of which there are scores and scores of. And those metrics will tell you what the next step is that you have to take. So then you go back to the drawing board. And there's this continual, relentless process of rinse, repeat over and over again until you get those metrics to line up to get you on the first page of search results. And then you become a top seller.
Jason, this is super fascinating. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Jason Boyce, the CEO and founder of Avenue 7 Media, talking about how to optimize his clients' experiences and sales on Amazon.
Are you a problem solver? Do you see the big picture and the small details? Want to turn big data into big decisions? Take AI to the boardroom. Translate rocket science into the science of business. Build your career at digital speed with a Master of Science in Business Analytics. Be ready for careers like analytics consultant, data science, analytics strategist, data translator, BI analyst, technical business analyst. 10 months and you're in business analytics.
The latest trend these days is everyone wants to have a YouTube channel and have a huge amount of subscribers. But is it really that easy? Well, our next expert is certainly going to tell us the pluses and minuses of being on e-commerce. Welcome, Jen Seregos, to the Language of Business.
Hi, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
You've been involved with several e-commerce businesses over the years, some more successful than others. What made the good ones so great and the bad ones not so good?
Usually when I see success, it's a founder who's in complete alignment with what it is that they're doing, and they put a team of really talented and intelligent people around them and who have skill sets that they don't have and are, have a team that they can trust. So I would say, in short, it doesn't work if you have a founder that's not in alignment. It does work when you do.
It's so easy to get online, open a store on Amazon, start a YouTube channel. But what differentiates really smart, successful YouTubers or Amazon store owners from the rank and file?
Consistency. Most people think they can do one or two videos and then, they get disheartened when nobody clicks like or comments or shares and the engagement is low, and they get, discouraged and they stop. And really, at the end of the day, you have to be consistent and you have to do very regular posting. And I don't know if you guys heard, but Facebook announced that Instagram is now moving away from the algorithm they had been using, and they're going back to a chronological news feed, which means it's even more important to be posting every single day if you're a company and you're trying to grow your business organically online.
But it can't just be as easy as posting more and more content. You've got to market that content out to the tribe, as you put it. How do you get your site to be the top of the list, literally as well as figuratively?
Fundamentally, foundationally, it really boils down to not talking about features and talking about benefits. So how do you translate the features of your product into benefits so that you're actually showing people how what it is that you're providing is solving a unique problem? And then I would say understanding your target market, because when you speak to everyone, you speak to no one. That was one of my marketing mentors taught me. So do the intensive, arduous work on the front end of interviewing your customers and your potential customers, doing a lot of market research, understanding these people. Most people think that if you can explain their problem to them better than they can, they automatically assume you have the solution.
And what about the cost of paying for preferential Google listings or being on YouTube? How does that aspect of e-commerce work?
In today's world, you really do have to pay to play. Just Facebook, Google are the top players, or have been the top players historically. And what happened was they started to recognize that for Google, through the search, and through Facebook, through the newsfeed, that a lot of businesses were making a lot of money organically. And these companies make a lot of money in revenue from advertising dollars. So they changed the algorithm to make organic outreach very difficult, if not impossible. And so in order to get revenue and customers coming through the door, you really do need to pay for ads. And that's true on Amazon, that's true on Google, that's true on Facebook. It's just part of the game that we have to play now.
Looking at this from an industry perspective, what is the single biggest area that keeps you up at night about the future of e-commerce?
It's a tough question because there's so many factors that can go into the success or failure. I don't want to brush off the question per se, but I don't really have anything that keeps me up at night because I'm resilient and I'm agile, right? So as long as you know how to adapt and change, and you know how to, and you feel comfortable that if Facebook were to disappear tomorrow, you have 3 other channels that you can get your business from, then you're fine. So I wouldn't want anyone to stay up at night worrying about the future of e-commerce. I'll tell you that.
As you're looking at sales and marketing expenses, do you advise your clients sometimes to spend more thoughtfully over the long term, even at the expense of short-term success?
Absolutely. In fact, when I onboard a client, we're very thoughtful about spending money. We put a lot of focus at Athena Digital on working with the client and understanding who their target market is, where their target market is hanging out, what kind of content is appropriate for their brand, and how to thoughtfully spend money for the longevity of the business.
Jen, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Jen Seregos, an expert on e-commerce. Thank you for joining us today on The Language of Business.
The reason why I started Athena Digital is to help companies doing good in the world have a greater impact. Marketing, at its core, is a human medium. What I love so much about it is that it's the perfect blend of creativity and logic. You get to use creativity to bring companies to life and share their story. Logic is all about the data. It's really a very special art form. The beauty of a well-crafted marketing campaign on social media is that it connects people to companies they may not have otherwise found on their own. For example, I met a key business mentor through Facebook ads. It humanizes business in a way other mediums have not been able to do. There's nothing more gratifying than getting a phone call from a client that they've gotten sales and leads and they're able to scale their company and have a greater impact. We're a full-service digital marketing agency. We help our clients increase revenue with Facebook, Instagram, and Google AdWords. We also help companies get sales and leads by managing their social media. We can get them more search-friendly with SEO and offer consulting on go-to-market and growth strategies. If you want to grow your business online, we've got you covered.
When it comes to being a social media influencer, is it a full-time job or a part-time passion? We're on location with Nikki Huang, and welcome to The Language of Business.
Thank you, Professor Stoller.
Nikki, what does it mean to be a social influencer?
I think it's a very good question you posed, Professor. I feel that being a social influencer has so many different definitions in this day and age, but I guess for the context that we're speaking of at the moment, it means being able to drive people's tastes and consumption habits by displaying your own.
And is it for you a full-time job or a part-time passion?
Well, for me in particular, it's definitely a very part-time passion, but for many people I know in the industry, it is a full-time job and arguably a very viable way of making an income.
Have you been able to monetize your social media outreach for the past 12 to 6 months?
Yes, I have been able to monetize my activity, but I think I'll speak to my friends who are professional influencers. Again, as I said, it's their main source of income through mostly brand deals, different endorsements, and once they reach a certain status as an influencer, the attendance of different events, keynote speeches, etc., all are means of monetizing the work that they do.
And what does it mean for you in particular? Have you actually monetized something? Have you generated income in the past few months?
Well, I don't generate a constant stream of income myself, but I have had different brand deals and projects where I'm being compensated for the pictures that I post, the video coverage that I do. I don't know if I can give more details, but usually it's a brand who asks me to be photographed with their product, to use it, to try it out, give my thoughts and opinions, review the product, and that's usually the scope of the work that I do.
And is this classic product placement in NFTs or something else entirely?
Well, for me, it's product placement. It's very interesting because people sometimes have this perception that influencers are just paid a bunch of money to market whatever product they want to. But I'd argue that the most successful influencers are actually quite discerning in the products or the services that they decide to market. And actually, often the way that it happens is that the brand notices that you're posting, that the use is genuine, and from that, you end up with a brand deal or sponsorship.
What is the biggest challenge that social media is going to face in the next few years?
That's very complicated because I think what we see with social media is that it's so unpredictable because there are so many stakeholders within the digital space, and everyone has quite a bit of power. Obviously, some actors have more power than others, but because of the communal nature and the crowd-based nature of social media, it can go in so many different directions, and we don't know what's going to happen.
Nikki, how does a social influencer's role change during a pandemic?
This is a very controversial question that I think many people have been asking, Professor. During a global pandemic, what's at the forefront of public discourse is not necessarily who is wearing the trendiest outfit in the most attractive way and where someone can get it, right? We have lives at stake. We have the future of individuals and the world and society at stake. And so there was a lot of hate and criticism directed towards influencers. However, at the same time, through an influencer, a small brand can find their lives and their business changed in the best way. The problem with social media is that everyone may sometimes think that they know everything, and it gives everyone a platform to say whatever they believe. I'm all for free speech, but I'm also all for educated speech, right? And silence where silence is appropriate. On the other hand, you have people who are sharing very important resources and kind of diverting from their traditional messaging in a very beneficial way.
Nikki Huang, thank you so much for joining us on The Language of Business.
Support for The Language of Business is from Boston University Questrom School of Business. We're also available as a podcast on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you get podcasts. Thanks for watching.